Okay, William Kelley, we are sitting here today with you, America's favorite yoga trainer. I am so thrilled to have you here with us. Congratulations once again. Can you tell me a little bit, what did it mean to you to receive that honor?
Sure. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And it was a shock. Honestly, I was very surprised and very grateful. It definitely made me feel like I think we all want to do something that's meaningful. And there aren't a lot of ways in the world that we get to measure that. So at least to me, it felt like uh, I'm doing something that I love to do, and it's hopefully making a difference.
Yeah, I can tell you without a doubt it is. I want to just read off a couple of the comments that some folks left. Talk about William as an inspiration. His classes are for everyone. People have said, I met many people in the fitness and wellness community. William is the most kind, most genuine, and giving, even when he's trying to kill me in kickboxing. So
That's great.
the people are talking about that connection you build. What is it like to build a connection with your client? What is that seems to be important to you?
It's very important. I mean, we're human beings, I guess, so we have this innate need to connect with each other. And I think that's one beautiful thing about yoga is although there are some types of yoga that require you to fit a certain position or put your foot up over your head or something like that, the type of yoga that I do is really, it meets people where they're at personally. So that's one goal, is to try to get to know people personally, and then you can kind of help them fit yoga into their lives instead of the other way around.
Let's walk through really your profession, because I think it's a really interesting story. Can you tell me the first time you remember thinking about your wellness, right? Whether is that as a kid, was that something that came from your family? When was that initial interest?
Yeah, it wasn't as a kid. I wish I could say that it was. I grew up in a family that was more into music and schoolwork. And so we didn't focus on physical wellness hardly at all. I was a pretty sick kid in some ways. I was really allergic to a lot of stuff. And then when I was 19, I was a freshman in college. I had this a dislocation of my knee that turns out it was kind of like a genetic thing that happened. And it was pretty severe. Like it was bad enough. So I had doctors and physical therapists for about a year telling me that they didn't know if I was going to be able to walk again. And so what they suggested was that I should try some strength training to try to rebuild the muscle strength. And it should be a no-brainer, right? Someone tells you you can either not walk again or try weights. You probably try the weights. But for me, I was so nervous and shy about, going to a gym or something like that. So I really had to think about that a lot, and finally decided through the persuasion of a friend, because she was working at a gym, I thought, oh, I can do this. I'll go there. And that was really the first thought, finding a community of like-minded people that are all there for the same purpose, and everybody's supportive of each other. I guess I had in my brain, I had this fear that I'd get there and people would be like, you're the nerd, get out of here or whatever. And it wasn't that at all. So I started immersing myself in that world. And before long, I ended up being a manager for this health club. And one of the things that we offered was yoga. So I always joke that I came into yoga sort of through the back way, because what kept happening is our yoga instructors would call out sick and there would be nobody to fill in. So, and the members, that happens a couple of times and your members start getting really upset at you. So I started learning yoga so that I could fill in for people that were not able to do it. In my head, I thought yoga is this wimpy sort of, it's like what, I shouldn't probably say what I thought it was, but I kind of thought like old people, did yoga as an alternative to fitness. And when I got into it, I was shocked to realize that that's not what it is at all. Not at all. It's you build strength, you build flexibility, you build confidence, balance, all the things that we need. Simultaneously, I was working in the mental health field, and I was really seeing the connection between the mind and the body. Now that's a buzzword in psychology and wellness today, but back then, nobody was really talking about that. So seeing the benefits when you had like someone who's dealing with depression, who also did fitness, who also did yoga. So I was really interested in that. So my initial training was more on using yoga as treatment for mental health rather than fitness.
Wow. That's, first of all, that sounds like a tough freshman year of college. Probably not what you were picturing going in.
Nope.
What were you studying?
What? Back then I was an English major. The campus that I was on was very hilly. So the accident happened in September. So I spent the whole rest of that year. It was crazy. It was a crazy year.
It's a tough one. So you're totally right about this mind-body connection. Seeming, it's not coming out of nowhere, but it is certainly exploding now, right? There's this, it's just widespread acceptance that there is a connection there. And one of the things that I found in talking with trainers who have been in the industry longer than a decade really is this isn't how it always was. Why do you think this change is happening? Why for you, I guess, have you decided to make part of your experience? Yeah.
Well, I think after doing fitness for, honestly, my first workout, I felt so good after. I mean, yeah, you're sore, but you also, you feel good about yourself. And for me, my sleep improved. Like I don't have problems sleeping ever anymore. And before that, I had one of those brains that just kept going and wouldn't shut off. So after I had that first workout, it was like, this is never not going to be part of my life. And the fields just kept changing. Like at first, it was all about in person. It was all about weights. And then I've been in this field for over 25 years, and I've seen fads come and go, but the focus on self is always there. And then I think the internet kind of exploded, and it gave people new options, whereas you didn't just have to go to a gym or have a gym set up at your home. You could connect with people through time and space. And I think also, we used to have marathon classes. Like we used to do 2-3 hour classes, and people would come, and I don't know where they found the time to do that, but they did. And now people want like 30-minute classes are a long time for people now. So it's shifted, I think.
Yeah, but you're exactly right about this duration trend. Especially, I mean, I'm not sure how long the Jane Fonda tapes were, but I'm sure they weren't 20 minutes.
An hour. They were an hour.
I know that you, based on, you've got a lot of classes on BurnAlong, and viewers of people who have taken your classes will recognize where you are right now. The background you got, but talk about why you believe that in these kind of long form classes, why do you choose that duration?
Oh yeah. I do some shorter classes as well, but mostly I stick to the same structure that I've always done. Maybe that's, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I also think like for yoga, it is possible to pick and choose pieces of the practice, and you will get short-term benefits from it. Absolutely, no question. But for me, like doing a 70-minute yoga class, it lets you get the full strength, cardio, flexibility, balance, coordination, and mindfulness. So you really get the full, it's an investment in your time, obviously, and your energy, but you get everything in one shot. Yeah.
You said that your first time teaching yoga was out of a need by your club. Was that how long had you been taking yoga before you started teaching?
Yeah. Good question. It was about 5 years. I was taking yoga for 5 years, and then I kind of condensed the time frame there. I obviously by that point knew that it wasn't something that just old people do. It was, everybody was doing it. But back then it was still like it wasn't an everyday word back then either. You know, like now you say yoga and everybody has at least some image of what it is, even if they've never done it. But back then people used to confuse the word with yogurt. Like
Oh,
that's,
really?
yeah, you'd say yoga and they're like, yogurt? What's yogurt? No. Yeah.
Oh my God. Both are healthy for you. Go ahead. Have both. You
Right.
know, it's fun.
Right.
When when did you, so when it comes to being a trainer, one of the things I love about trainers is so many of them have had good trainers in their lives that have impacted
Yeah.
them. What, you know, who are your role models, you know, when it comes to wellness, when it comes to yoga? You know, have you felt like you're drawing things? Have they impacted your perspective, your passion?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about this question a little bit. And, you know, a lot of people will point to internationally known or nationally known people that really motivated them. For me, it's more the local people that maybe aren't internationally or even nationally known, but they
Yeah.
really impact me. So these would be people that I studied under, people that I trained with, people that I still, even now, like I learn from my students every time I teach a class because every body is different and there's always more. You know, you'll get, even just Sunday I was teaching a yoga class and I looked at the I looked at something that was a student was sort of showing me later and I realized, oh, their body did this and that. And so it, you know, in BurnAlong you can always see how people, where their structures are. So you learn new ways of saying things and describing things. So for me, it's constant learning. And I think we all learn from each other, really. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're exactly right. I want to talk a little bit about that client and trainer connection because it's so important, right? And what I
Yeah.
virtual in the past year and a half, actually, let me go back to this. In the past year and a half, we've obviously been forced to stay inside, right? It
Right.
was stay inside.
Mhm.
What was that transition like for you? How did you handle it?
Great question. I actually, so I was already focused on trying to you know, connect with people through time and space. At one point, I actually owned a fitness center, and I kept realizing that because I live in a really rural area, we don't have a lot of people here, and so you know, there are like 4 fitness centers, and people, you know, that's it. That's what you have to choose from. And so I looked a lot at like, why were people not committing?
Yeah.
And I looked at things like, okay, so time, especially with classes, people would say things like, well, that doesn't fit with my schedule. Or, you know, and we used to say things like, I'm too busy. I couldn't work out from home. You know, like we used to say things
Yeah.
like that. I need to go somewhere. And so I tried to take every excuse that I heard, like cost sometimes was things people would say, like, I can't afford a monthly fee or even a, you know, so I always tried to keep the prices really low. And then as part of that, I started developing a distance, you know, trying to do through a platform pre-existing Zoom, so that people could do it from home. And we created a on-demand video library. So that was like 2014. So I was already thinking about that. And the platforms that we were using were honestly just horrible. They weren't up to like what we have today. So,
Yeah.
and actually the platforms that I was using, they all stopped about maybe 2 or 3 years before the pandemic. So I was sort of like, what do I do for the people that got used to doing this by distance? And then the pandemic hit, and then people had a whole new set of excuses why they weren't able to connect to people anymore. And I spent probably 4 or 5 months looking for a new platform. And I am so grateful that I found BurnAlong because it brings people together in a way that I always had envisioned, but never could sustain. So it's awesome. Yeah. I love
Yeah.
being home too. The other cool thing, can I also say, like yoga was never meant to be something like a classroom that you go somewhere and do. It was meant to be something that was integrated into our daily lives. So I think
Mm.
it's really awesome that people can be in the space where they live or work and do a yoga class, learn the techniques, and then it's instantly integrated into where they are. So yeah.
I love that. Well, I guess, and I never thought about it that way. I mean, tell me a little bit more, because the first thing I think of when you say that is sun salutation.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're actually, you shouldn't be in a room to do that, I guess would be like what the point is, right?
Right. Yeah. And honestly, the physical part of yoga is just such it's 1/8 of the overall practice. It includes mindfulness and healthy eating and honoring the things that we honor in our lives. It's huge. And so the sun salutation, for example, is honoring nature cycles, which happen whether we're in a classroom or we're outside or whatever. So the goal is to let people get to yoga however they are. The ancient Indians didn't have classrooms. They didn't use yoga mats, for example. They didn't have music. They didn't have mirrors. It was something that was taught, from a guru to a student. And people started from the time that they could move. They started learning yoga techniques. So it's different. It's like for us, most of us start as teenagers or adults in the US. So we've already missed, 10 to 20 years or more of body development in the mindfulness practice of yoga.
Yeah. Well, I want to get back to, you had basically a running start on virtual.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people were, March 2020 happens and it's panic and you've got to adapt. What do you think was helpful for you going into it? What kind of advantage do you think you had over some other trainers who had to just scramble?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing, so I'm a really introverted person, so it's not bad for me not to be in front of a classroom. So in that respect, personality wise, I'm a much better fit. I'm a homebody. I like to be at home. So that was fine. I also was commuting, like in the real world, I was commuting a half hour to an hour everywhere that I taught. So this was like 10 extra hours each week that I now could do other things. So it's pretty cool. There's a little learning curve, obviously, because every platform is a little different. But I think in general, I was used to trying to interact with a screen and how do you invite people into that? So you develop a language that's more inclusive. Like, how's everybody feeling out there? How did that exercise make you feel? What did you think of that posture? You're asking questions, you're not getting answers back. So it's a little bit, that's a little weird for most people, but I think for me it was, and also being able to see the feedback from the students after has been helpful. Like I know, I always end my class saying, please follow me as an instructor, but let me know that you're here so I know who's here, and let me know what your goals are. Let me know what you want more of. And those when the feedback comes in, it's really awesome to see that people are using that opportunity to connect.
Yeah, that two-way piece just can't be discounted enough, especially when you're dealing with physical bodies, right? It's
right.
It always is needed. I hope that I hope that people, if you've taken classes online as a participant and haven't reached out to your instructor, do so. I promise instructors want to hear from you, right?
Definitely. I can't speak for everybody, but I actually take a lot of stock in what people say. That was true in in-person classes too, but especially through a platform, you have to have the feedback to know what your students want. So I am always grateful when someone reaches out.
What's your philosophy, William, when it comes to impacting your clients, helping them achieve their goals?
Yeah. Part of that is back to my counseling training, that everybody has their own inner wisdom. They have their own path. And it's not my job to tell somebody else what their path is. My goal is really to help people connect to their own paths. So there's a great expression that basically says, if I come here to help you and fix you, it's not going to be as meaningful as if we join together and find that healing together. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Want to talk a bit, you've been really, really successful on BurnAlong. Obviously, you have a huge library of classes. I think you had over 200 on the platform, but more than that, it's people are engaging with them in really meaningful ways. You know what? You've been at other platforms, you've seen what there is to offer, and you know, why do you choose BurnAlong as the one?
There were so many reasons. I mean, and I'm the kind of guy that like draws the chart and puts the plus minus and plus and minus. When I did all the pluses and minuses, the main thing. So if I've already mentioned that I lived in a very rural area, and I wanted my local people to be able to easily integrate into something. This is a place where the wind blows wrong and people lose their internet for 4 hours. So I needed to make sure that the platform itself was not going to crash and not going to, because people, that happens once or twice and people, they're not going to keep. So BurnAlong had awesome success rates. You know, the structure of the platform was really solid. It was also very affordable for my local folks to just jump right on, which they did. But I also feel like having the corporate connection, being able to reach people where they're at around the world is huge. So, I mean, I could keep going. I'm probably embarrass you guys who work there because you all do such a great job. Customer service there has been outstanding. Any questions I've had or any questions that the clients or students have had answered very quickly. And honestly, the quality of the classes is really good. I'm not just an instructor. I also had joined before. And I take classes on BurnAlong. I love the other instructors and I want to support them. And, you know, I hope that someday we'll be able to interact more as well. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's 100% right. I think anytime we can get good people together, good things are going to happen. So we should absolutely do that. Want to kind of just finalize, you know, you're creating this virtual programming. Who's it for? You know, who are you thinking about when you're making these yoga classes?
Yeah. Well, at first, it was about people like me who maybe were too shy or didn't have the experience with fitness and wellness. And then it just expanded. You know, every client that I worked with, whether it was in personal training or mental health work, you know, you see people grow and you see the confidence build and you see them get stronger, and it just, so it's kind of like everybody. I think about like, who's going to come to this class? Okay, I might get some stereotypical people that would come to yoga, but I also might get, you know, the football team that wants to develop their skills to improve XYZ, or the elderly who might want to connect to yoga, but have always been a little nervous to do it safely. Or, you know, I guess I'm babbling, but I'm excited about everybody because I think everybody can benefit.
That's great. But William, you've obviously had, I mean, 25 plus years here. You're now in a position, right? You're America's favorite yoga trainer. You know, what's next for you? What do you see the next next 6 months, a year, 2 years looking like for you?
Yeah, I really want to solidify this, you know, being on BurnAlong. I'm committed, obviously, to continuing this. So I want to keep doing that. I also want to keep developing new classes and try new formats of things. That's the other awesome thing about BurnAlong is, so if I went to my local fitness center and I said, I want to teach a class called yoga aerobics, they would look at me like I had 4 heads and say, and I'd put it on the schedule and one person maybe would come because it's something so new. You put something creative like that on BurnAlong and somebody somewhere finds it and benefits from it. So I want to do mashups. I want to do like and I'm doing that now, but I want to really expand that and grow that. People have been asking a lot about more mental health workshops, like I just recorded one yesterday on how to turn negative thoughts into positive thoughts. So I want to do more stuff like that to integrate physical and mental.
That's great. Everyone looking for William Kelley. I know he's on BurnAlong. That's Kelley, Kelley. William, how else can people find you?
People can email me if they want at WILL1733@msn.com. I also have a website, www.navaz, that's NAVAZ.net. Those are probably the easiest ways for people to connect with me outside of BurnAlong.
That's great, William. I appreciate you sharing your story. Appreciate you coming on. Want to wish you congratulations, all the success. We're glad to have you on BurnAlong, man.
Oh, thanks so much, Kevin. It's great to meet you. Thank you.
Take care. Have a good one.
You too.